big college football game this weekend. You'll hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Clemson and Miami. We talked a little bit about it earlier. You know, like people like want Miami to be good again. We were talking about like a college football team in this area. We don't really have one. So some people like adopt Miami. A buddy of mine lives in the area, went to Clemson. You don't see that too often around here.
No, you don't.
Know anybody Clemson?
Trevor Lawrence.
That's not bad. He's pretty good. Well, I know someone who's the host of the Believe in Clemson football on the Believe Podcast Network, but many people will remember his time with the Eagles as a linebacker and the time he spent with the Steelers as a linebacker, too. And that's Levon Kirkland, who went to Clemson. See, I led you right into that. You knew he went to Clemson, and he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline with a big college football game on Saturday night. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll get his thoughts on the NFL, Steelers, and Eagles, two of his former teams meeting up this weekend. Levon, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We're all good, and there's nothing better than a big college football game Saturday night. Unfortunately, not too many people will be there, but, you know, the atmosphere for something like this, and I guess as a guy who went to Clemson, it is kind of cool when Miami is good. Like, this elevates this game up another notch, does it not?
Oh, no question about it. I think Miami, when they're good, I think college football is good. And to tell you the truth, they're a pretty good team thus far. They've been playing very well on offense. They got some really nice weapons. And I think Clemson has a challenge this week.
Tell us about, you know, the NFL's watching Trevor Lawrence, the pressure that's on this kid, I guess, every single week. You know, what impresses you when you see the pressure that he has and how he handles it over the time that he has been the quarterback at Clemson, stepping right in as a freshman?
Well, he's never faced with the pressure as far as I have seen. And especially this year, he's just been playing outstanding football. The guy has it all as far as a quarterback is concerned. He has the arm, he has the intellect, he also has the wheels. So he's not normally looked at as a dual threat quarterback, but as Ohio State saw last year in the semifinals, this guy can take off and he can run. So he can make plays with his legs, but his arm is outstanding. He seems to have a lot of control as far as the game plan and Coach Elliott and what they do. So you're just impressed by his presence and his poise and how he handles things. He's an extremely cool customer.
Levon Kirkland's with us. We're looking at the college game here, Clemson and Miami, real fast. 72-5 Clemson is since the start of 2015. If they were to suffer their sixth loss in a 5-year span, what is the weakness of this Clemson team this year?
Well, I have to look at their defense and how young they are in the back end. They got some defensive linemen that are highly recruited, some guys who have been there. But some of those guys, like Murphy and Breezy, are young players. And then you look at the back end, really nobody comes back. Nobody's really a starter except for Kendricks from last year. So you got 3 new starters, and then you got some other young guys that come in there. And what Brent Venables does as far as a defense, he's very proactive. He's going to come after you. He's going to blitz you. He's going to show you some different looks. So a lot of times it's going to be tough for those guys at the back end to hold up coverage if the blitz doesn't really get there. So if I look at the weakness of the defense of Clemson, you have to look at what they have on the back end because they're so young. They're talented, but they're young.
That game, of course, right here on 97.3 ESPN, 7:30. It is Clemson and Miami, a good one. Levon Kirkland, host of Believe in Clemson Football on the Believe Podcast Network. He's also, of course, the former NFL linebacker. He's a member of the Clemson Hall of Fame, by the way. And we remember him for his – when you play with the Eagles, you know and remember that you were an Eagle, but really he played most of his career with the Steelers. Those teams meet this week, and I get interested to get your thought, number one, on linebacker play in the NFL today. I mean, when I watch you play linebacker and then look at, like, the Eagles linebackers, you guys don't look the same. Like, the linebacking has just completely changed. What is your take on where linebacking play has gone in the NFL?
Well, I think that when you talk about linebackers, especially the inside linebacker, he has to be a guy that's versatile as far as stopping the run in the pass. But what's happening that you're seeing lighter guys. So guys who really can't handle the run as well. But, the offenses are so spread out, you need somebody who's good in coverage. And having that combination of a guy who's both, but who can really handle the run is very rare to find. So a lot of times you're getting guys who are just a little bit lighter than what we were because the field is used a lot more than it was when I played. But, when I played, I was probably the outlier because I was a very big linebacker, but I was pretty good as far as coverage is concerned, too. So it played in my favor to have that weight. But I think now, if you run right at guys, I don't know how many guys can really handle it. But you're substituting that for a lot of speed guys who can go laterally, guys who can run up with a tight end. So there's a little bit of difference, but I like both styles. I like both type of linebackers. I see nothing wrong with the guys who are playing linebacker at this point in time. So I think, it's just a trend where it's going. Who knows? The trend can go back, but for right now, I think the trend is going to always be, a sleeker linebacker who can run all over the field, make plays all over the field. But most importantly, they have to be great in pass coverage, especially one-on-one with a tight end.
Yeah, it's and by the way, Levon Kirkland, a member of the 1990s All-Decade team. He was a two-time All-Pro, multiple-time Pro Bowler. As you mentioned, you were a bigger guy playing linebacker. Do you think in today's game you would be a linebacker?
Well, I like to think that everything is relative. So if I was doing all the training and what they do now, I think so. I think I could definitely play at 260 and be a very effective linebacker. But I think being a player in the NFL is definitely more than just physicality. You definitely have to be strong mentally. You have to be strong emotionally, and you have to understand the game. And I feel like, I probably could. I think most guys, and well, basically I want to say that really it's going to kind of depend on the coaching staff too, because a lot of times some coaches are not really open to a different type of player. They look at the measurables, and if you don't really fit into the measurables, then a lot of times they'll try to change your position up or do something different with you. I was very fortunate when I was with the Pittsburgh Steelers that they accepted my size, and they felt like it was more of a plus than a minus. So, as I said before, I think everything being relative, I think, I probably could have played.
You talk about the Steelers and their defense. Pretty good this year, that 3-4 look. They got Watt and Bud Dupree. I want to ask you, when you play a 3-4, a lot of teams, you don't see that all the time. How does that change things up, do you think, for the opposing offensive line? You got a guy like Jordan Mailata for the Eagles playing left tackle who has very little football experience. The guy was playing rugby. This is his second NFL start. Is seeing that 3-4 a change for the offensive line?
Well, I think the 3-4 is very versatile as far as who's really rushing the passer. I think when you think about a 4-3, you pretty much know that the 4 down guys are going to be coming and that maybe you bring another guy too. But in the 3-4, you can really disguise it pretty well. You got usually 2 really good athletes on the outside that's like your defensive end, but they're usually better as far as dropping into coverage. And normally your inside linebacker, they're 2 different guys. One guy is usually a thumper, a guy who can really stop the run, but also has to be versatile. And the other guy is probably what you think of a weak side linebacker, a guy who can just make the plays, who can really clean up, who can make those layups. I think in a 3-4, a lot of times you can get a lot of different movement. You can get guys standing up. A lot of times you don't know who's dropping back. And I know traditionally the Pittsburgh Steelers has been kind of that Blitzburg type of defense that bring people from different places, but they also drop out defensive linemen. So I think for a young linebacker, a young lineman, it's tough because you don't know exactly who's coming and who's not coming.
Levon Kirkland's with us. He spent 1 year in Philly, and it's probably, a memorable year. You guys are 12-4, and probably a team that had Super Bowl. You lost that game against Tampa, who ended up winning that Super Bowl this year. But for the 1 year in Philly, what do you remember most about being a part of that Eagles team?
Honestly, it was a lot of fun for me, and it was really good for me to be there because when you're with a good team, it kind of gives you a lot of energy. I was with Seattle, and we were pretty average, so. I mean, we won more games than we lost, but the championship vibe wasn't there. When I was with Philly, you felt like every time you went into a game, you were going to win that game, and we had a dynamic quarterback, and really that was the first time I was with a quarterback who was dynamic and can really play. I mean, I was there with Cordell for a little while, but Donovan was great. We had a good defense. Jimmy Johnson, God rest his soul, was a brilliant defensive coordinator. And it was a little different for me. I had to learn on the fly, but it was a lot of fun. It really was. My wife really enjoyed it. So that's that. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the fans, but the fans are different. The fans, they get into your face, man. So that was a little different for me. But overall, I really enjoyed my time in Philly. I'm glad I got an opportunity to meet some incredible guys.
That was 2002, that team that went 12-4. They lost to Tampa, a Pittsburgh Steeler, an Eagle. He played with the Seahawks, and now he is the host of the Believe in Clemson football team on the Believe Podcast Network. That's the game tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN. Saturday night, 7:30, right here. It is Clemson and Miami, and Levon Kirkland was kind enough to join us here on the Sports Bash on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Hey, Levon, we appreciate your time, man.
Hey, thank you so much, and anytime you need me, let me know.
Absolutely. Great college football conversation in the NFL breakdown.